Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Is Jose Mourinho better for Manchester United than other managers? And for me, it's a simple yes. But I want to say Jamie Ward, who wrote a brilliant article on our website, theunitedstand.com today, has definitely prompted me to want to discuss this tonight. We will be taking your questions as per usual, but we will also be...
Hello and welcome to the United Stand.
Don't want that on. We will also be discussing this first of all because I think it's a really valid point. And the point is, there are people doubting Jose out there, and I know they're sort of in hiding at the moment, but there are. There were some who didn't want him. There's some who are not happy with the way things are going. Reality is we're all disappointed by Stoke, but it could have been 6-0 quite easily. However, something very interesting, this time last year, Manchester United were actually sitting top of the table. I didn't actually believe this until I read Jamie's article, but Manchester United was sitting top of the table. So the press is starting to lean it out like they used to do with his Moyes better than Van Gaal rubbish, saying, you know, are United actually better off under Jose than they were under Van Gaal? Any sane Manchester United fan will say, yes, 100% we are. But the simple things that matter to me are, when I look at Jamie's article, are the fact that at this time last year, whether Manchester United were top of the league or not, at this time last year with the same games played, we have created 90-something chances. Under Van Gaal at this time last year, it was way down at 50. We're not passing the ball around as much, but we're creating more in the final third. We're running far less, which I think is going to mean a hell of a big advantage towards the end of the season in a fitness sense. But there is just no part of me, absolutely no part of me, that does not think that we are in the best situation we've been in since Sir Alex Ferguson decided he was going to retire. Moyes was a car crash. Van Gaal nearly bored us to death. Mourinho is heading in the right direction, but it always comes back to the same thing for me. And I don't know why I'm using my hands so much, but it always comes down to the same thing for me. That this is a huge job. It's a huge job because of the last two managers. 100% huge job, and it's going to take him time. And I don't want to talk about Rooney tonight. I don't want to talk about Phil Jones, Fellaini, Ashley Young, unless you mention it to me. But these are issues within the team that need to be taken out. As we said yesterday, Rooney's coming out on England duty where he's safe and pampered, saying, my best position's a midfielder. I dictate the play from there. You know what? He couldn't run a bath, let alone run Manchester United's midfield. If he wants to be a midfielder, and I said this a year ago, there's an article out there on the website. If he wants to be a midfielder, he needs to go and play for Aston Villa. Aston Villa were a Premier League team last year, to be fair. They're not now. But he's not a top 10 centre midfielder in the Premier League. And if he wants to play there, he has to go. But that's the end of that. But that just... Basically, that is the issue that Jose faces at the moment. I think he's doing remarkably well with a load of new players, with players who've underperformed for 3 years, with a club that's underperformed for 3 years, to have got us playing some of the best football we've seen in the last couple of games at home to Leicester and Stoke. Yes, we've got two massive games to come up with Liverpool and Chelsea, but, you know, stats can lie. Last season compared to this season is totally different for a start. You've got Spurs, you've got Liverpool, you've got Arsenal, you've got Chelsea, you've got obviously Man City, all gunning for the title this year, and then we're trying as well as a brand new brand under Jose. Last year, everybody just took a season off, didn't they? Unless the fair play to them took advantage. El Diego, Mourinho will turn United into success. Fans just aren't patient. Sonu says it's too early to judge Jose, but he's doing well. Soon we will see where he belongs. It's a very good point. Nobody can guarantee anything in life, and it's not been a super start. If you think about it, we won 3. We lost to Watford. We never should have done that. And we dropped points to Stoke. And obviously we dropped points to City. So we have dropped points, and who's to say what's going to happen? But I'm firmly behind the manager, and he will get at least a season out of me. But I think he will get it right. I think he's got big decisions to make. Did you watch my live stream? Thank you, says Crazy Pizza. Yes, I had a quick look. It was good. Need to play Memphis more. He's class, says Andrew Genders. I disagree. Who will we have this time next year, says Jake Bull. I think we will have Jose. I just don't think we'll have Rooney. Rooney's better than Fellaini, says Bizwajit. I think I'm better than Rooney, and so are you. Fellaini as well. If the players won't perform, no manager can save United, says Argent. Very good point. Rooney couldn't break a Kit Kat in the form he's in, never mind records. Live forever LGX. And thought we would be better defensively, says Ollie Osoli. We're brilliant defensively. Our defensive record is actually very good. Apart from that fumble, which was such a highlighter by De Gea against Stoke. For the last 2 years, and David Moyes as well, De Gea's been winning player of the season because he's been overworked, pulling off saves here, there and everywhere, keeping us games, saving us points. This season, we haven't really seen much of De Gea apart from that mistake. because he's not having to do as much because the defence is far, far better. Unfortunately, we're not getting many clean sheets because it seems that, you know, every chance the opposition gets, they're more or less scoring. But defensively, we are better. Shaka Phillips, Mark, do you think we need squad players like Saul or Sol Koke? What do you know about Angel Gomez? Says Live Forever LGX. Well, he's a 16-year-old youth player for Manchester United. I think he's been tipped to be one of the best players England have got in the next 10 years. Youth coaches and everything at Manchester United saying he's one of the best they've ever coached. He's captaining the England under-17s. He's doing great things, but he's only 16 and he's quite slight. He's not ready for the first team yet. But I think him, Tahith Chong and a couple of others really excited our youth products. And I think Twansibi's not far off. He's not far off at all. Play Tim Fosu Mensah in place of Valencia, says Ashok. Problem is that we're having too high expectations, Patrick Anderson says. Even if we finish 5th or 6th this season, we should stay with Jose. I disagree with the second part. I think for the money we've spent and the club we are, we should be top 4. But I don't think it's going to be easy. But nobody ever said managing Manchester United was. However, I do agree with the high expectations thing. Just because we went and had the best summer we've probably ever had doesn't hide the fact that we've had 3 years of really abject performances, and you can't expect a manager to just come in and sort it out. I think the first 3 games we sort of thought he was, and it's a good point because it's the international break and we all hate it. It's a good point to sort of have a look at where we are now. And I think after the first 3 games we were like, this is amazing. We went into that first international break. We might win the league. A lot of people were saying we're going to win the league. But then reality bit us after that. And the reality is that this team, forget the new players because they will take time to bed in, or they have bedded in very quickly like Bailly and Zlatan, but Mkhitaryan hasn't and Pogba's on his way. That's fine for new players, you expect that. The problem with Manchester United is the same problem it's been for the last couple of years. It's your Rooneys, it's your Ashley Youngs, it's your Phil Jones, it's your Fellaini's, it's your Carricks. All for varying different reasons are a massive problem for Manchester United. The so-called experienced people who are very influential in the dressing room are on decline, getting too old, taking the piss, always injured, not good enough. And that's the problem with Manchester United. It's nothing to do with the new manager, the new players. They will take their time and they should be given time. The problem is it's what was already here. It's getting rid of that. And I think it's more than deadwood. I think it's riddled, absolutely riddled. And he needs to get an 11 that is hungry, wants to play for him. I mean, for those of you who've been watching the let me get my words out. For those of you who've been watching the FIFA United Stand channel, I've been doing a Manchester United career mode. And we started off really well. We're in December now. The last one I just went up about a couple of hours ago. If you watch it, we're in a really bad run. We're top of the league and then we go into a really bad run. And the problem is, it's like, actually, beyond your first team, and my first team was basically for FIFA, same back four we've got now. I've been playing Blind at left back, De Gea in goal, Herrera, Pogba, Mata, Martial, Mkhitaryan, Zlatan and Rashford coming on as a sub. And it was working really well. And then we got a bad result. And then for love nor money, we couldn't sort it out. And we do it live and we're talking with the live comments. And it's like, what can we do? There's nothing on the bench I really want to bring in to stop the rot. You can try Rooney, it doesn't work. Memphis, it doesn't work. You know, Fellaini's nowhere near my bench. There isn't enough there. So despite the fact that we've spent all this money, we're still a massive work in progress. And whether that's bringing youth players through or whether that's bringing other players in, the problem we've got is got a huge squad, but there's just nobody that you really want to hang your hat on when things don't go right for you. So I think that's a big problem as well. I mean, fortunately, I won't spoil the end of the video, but we changed formation. We brought a couple of different players in and gave them a chance, and we were superb. So it's back on track. So do watch that. It's really good, but it's very realistic as well. As to the problems I think Jose has is that he's got this massive squad, but there's so many in that squad that I just, you know, your Rojos, your Valencia, I know he's playing right back at the moment, your Lingards, your Rooneys, these are they're okay, but they're not going to win us a title. They're not exciting. I think that was the problem last week against Stoke. Is you look at the bench. Thankfully, Martial came on and did something, but the rest of that bench, it's like an out of form Rooney, Carrick. You know, they're not exciting. It's almost like you want to put Rashford on the bench just so you've got him for the last half an hour. But we had Martial last week. Lee Poulton, it doesn't matter how much we spent, if there's no teamwork, there's nothing, as Leicester showed last season, which is a fantastic point. We're a better team than Liverpool. We've got Liverpool coming up a week on Monday night. Still seems bloody ages away. We're a better team than Liverpool, 100%. But that doesn't mean we'll win. man for man, we are better. But it doesn't mean we'll win, because we were better than last year, like most teams were. But if you've got a team ethic and you know what you're doing, then it's a very dangerous thing. I was watching the FIFA, says TXM. Thank you, I recognise the name. I hope you're all enjoying that. Noah White, how can you be half Man City and half Man United? Are you a scarf? Live forever? Don't know what he's on about. Have you heard of the 13-year-old Celtic boy that played for the Celtic under-20s, says Cheetah? I did. Everyone's getting all excited about that, but did you not realise he got subbed off after 10 minutes and he was total crap? It's like everyone's like making a big deal of a 13-year-old playing, but he was actually shit. Lingard can't be a first-team player forever, says Al Diego. Good. A relaxed Jose is a less motivated Jose. Fact, says Daniel Crow. Mark in January gets centre-back, right-back and DM, says Shaka Phillips. Well, that's the next thing I wanted to talk about, really. With January coming up, and like I said, doing the FIFA thing has really highlighted to me that I think United do need to go into the transfer market in January, because I certainly will on the next show, which will probably be tomorrow night at 8:30, giving it a plug. But from a Manchester United point of view, I think we need to as well. Many people will say this, I've been saying it for a long time. Valencia has been doing a very, very good job at right back, but he's a midfielder playing as a right back. The difference we will have as a specialist right back in that team will make a world of difference. Fabinho, I've heard, signed a new contract, which is a bit of a shame. So it's like, well, who do we go for? Then you've got Darmian's agent on international duty again, saying that loads of people inquired about Darmian, but Jose wouldn't let him go, which is quite weird. So as a right back, I know people have mentioned the PSG right back, Kyle Walker, people like that. Not realistic in January. Not realistic to get a Champions League right back in January. Never going to happen. So I think we'll probably see the season out with what we've got, unfortunately. Centre back would be nice. I'm a big fan of Manolas. I don't think he signed his new contract at Roma. But again, are we going to hold someone like that, or are we going to end up with a make-do Fonte, which you'll know from the summer I was never happy about that. I do think when you look at Manchester United and you look at what your first team would be, and forgetting the defence for a moment, you're going to have the midfield area behind the number 10 is going to be like Pogba, Herrera. Hopefully Carrick can get a bit of games. Maybe Schneidlin can come in. But then ahead of that, you've got Mata, who's been doing a decent job, but can he do it? You've got Rooney, who I just don't think can do it. So I think we need somebody in that number 10 position. Maybe Mkhitaryan could move across, but if he does that, that leaves us wide right with issues, because who are you going to rely on? Ashley Young, Lingard? I don't think so. So for me, in the attacking sense, forgetting the fact we need a right back and a centre back, and I do think we do, I think we need an attacking midfielder, stroke right midfielder. We were linked to Lozano from Mexico. I'm really disappointed we didn't go for him. We were linked with, I forget his name, the Bordeaux right midfielder. It's not Gomez. What was his name? Somebody will tell me now in a minute. Draxler, even people like that. I think that we need that. James Rodriguez, that sort of player is probably what Manchester United need. Can we do it in January? Is James Rodriguez playing for Real Madrid at the moment? He's certainly got the same agent as Jose, so maybe, just maybe, we can do something out of that. But I think we do need to sign somebody in January just to give the team a bit of a kick up the backside, because there's an issue that I have with it, and I don't really want to mention the name, but it's always Adam Muniz, says KJ got him, that was the one. I'd like to see Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang replace Ibrahimovic, says Jamie Johnson. I think he wants to go to Spain. And Rayo will save some wage bill too. Yeah, it needs to go. Guedes plays right wing too, says Antak. I take it is he the Benfica lad? A few of you have been on about it, and we put an article about him. I haven't had a chance to read it. And what's your thoughts on Leon Bailey, Mark? Says Lee Carmen. Again, I need to have a look about him. Jamaican lad, isn't he? But he's meant to be very good. We do need somebody on the right side. Sell Memphis, yes or no? Says Jaudat. I think he will be sold. I think he will be a flop, is all I can say. I'd like him to prove me wrong, but every time I see him, I just don't see what, in the last year and a half, I can't see how it's going to improve. But the issue for me with Manchester United is for this season is that the press are never going to stop going on about Rooney, and it's not really Rooney's fault unless he's feeding them. The reality is he's just not good enough to be in a Manchester United shirt at the moment. I wouldn't even have him on the bench. I think it's a joke that he comes on for the last half an hour. But the problem is, it's starting to undermine our season a bit, because it's constant. Even on England international duty, he's getting questioned about it. And it's like they're just treating the brand and they're not dealing with the issue. And the issue is he's just not good enough to be in our first team at the moment. But the longer this goes on, that he's not in the team, the more the press will build it up, and the more pressure it puts on Jose and everything like that. It's a massive pressure. I mean, to be honest, I just wish Rooney had walked out the door when Sir Alex Ferguson went, but we've got Moyes to go for that because I think it would have been better for everybody. Shaka Phillips, if we bought James Rodriguez in January and got Griezmann in the summer, how would they fit into the team? Well, we'd have to get rid of players, which is what I was going to say next. And Anna makes a good point that Bonucci, 60 million to Chelsea, was trending a lot today. We'll have to see about that. But if you bought Rodriguez and Griezmann into the team, well, obviously you get rid of Rooney next summer anyway, so that's a like-for-like replacement. And Lingard probably gets sold as well because he's not good enough. I think Lingard's career is basically, is he ever going to be good enough to be a Manchester United squad player? Because he's never going to be first team. People think he's like 19, he's 23, he's not far off 24, he's very skinny, he's not bulked out yet. It's whether you, as an individual fan, think Lingard is good enough to be on our bench, because he's never going to be good enough to be in the first team. If you do, we'll have to get rid of somebody else. If you don't, you get rid of Lingard, you get rid of Ashley Young, you get rid of Wayne Rooney, you bring Rodriguez and you bring in Griezmann. So easily solved, easily solved. Humza says you can't say the press keep going about Rooney when you talk about him every single day. Well, of course we can, because the press are talking about him every day and we're a fan channel. We're fed up of it being talked about. I don't want to talk about him. I don't want him on the bench. I don't think he deserves a place on the bench. I want to forget about Wayne Rooney until he starts performing for Manchester United, and then I'll talk about him. I'm not, the vast majority of Manchester United fans don't give a shit that he's been dropped. We don't care. But it's the press building it up. So of course he's going to get mentioned, because we are fed up of reading about him all the time. Because it's brand. All they're talking about is a brand. He's a fantastic brand. He's a worldwide renowned brand. But he's not a Manchester United footballer at the moment by any means. And that should be forgotten. Herrera's had to be dropped over the past. And there's no press outcry about that when I think there should have been. So I want it out of the press. Ashwin says you're underestimating Jesse Lingard, Mark. I don't think I am. I've been right on most things, and I was right about Fellaini when everyone back in August again. I've been 3 years I've said Fellaini's not good enough for United. Back in August, even Jose himself was saying I'm going to make the Manchester United fans love Fellaini. You're not. He never will, because you're never going to turn him into something he's not, and that is a Manchester United footballer. So, and in relation to Jesse Lingard, I think he might be able to be a squad player. The likes of Phil Neville or everyone like that. But I remember Kieran Richardson at Manchester United, and to be honest, there's not a massive world of difference between the ability of Kieran Richardson and the abilities of Jesse Lingard. Remember, I've been watching United for decades, and I don't see it. I don't see Jesse Lingard. No way as a first team player. He might be a bench player, and that's down to him. If he bulked out and he sorted out his decision making, then maybe. But he's done fantastically well to get in the England squad. Got nothing against him. If he turns out to be a United player of the future, brilliant. But if you're asking me what I honestly think, no. Memphis, I think he'll go in the summer. And that's my honest thoughts. Mark, who can we bring in as a complete DM? Dominic King. Well, that's a very good point I was going to come to then. I do think we need a defensive midfielder at Manchester United. Matuidi was linked to us in the summer. I think it's a real shame we didn't get him, because I think what Manchester United are missing, as good as Carrick is when he comes on and dictates the play, he is on the decline because of age. And as good as Herrera's been, I think Herrera's better further forward. I don't think he is a defensive midfielder, and physically I think he struggles. But what we need is a destroyer in that position. I think Fosu Mensah will be it, he's just not ready yet. So you're thinking, well, what's like that? Kante, Matuidi is about 29. What a player to bring in for a couple of years whilst Fosu Mensah develops alongside him. And what Matuidi is, he's a fast, powerful, all-action, biting tackle, get the ball, pass the ball. That's what we need in the midfield. I mean, it's the total opposite of Fellaini, really. And to think we've been playing Fellaini as a defensive midfielder is enough to make you cry, especially when you remember Schweinsteiger's just totally been left out. How about giving Morgan a chance, J-Dog? Well, I don't want to ruin the FIFA United Stand career episode that we've just put up. If you didn't watch it live, if you did, you'll know anyway. But do go and watch it after this, because we totally ignored Schneiderlin. We'd never bothered with him, and in desperation we thought, sod it, let's throw him in. Man of the match performance and a goal. He was brilliant. So, if we can do it, then maybe Jose should. But who knows? Memphis in the centre, says George Garza. No chance. He's a left winger and that's it. Rednabed, I've heard great things about Frank Tessie from Atalanta. He's only 20, but he's a beast. Yep, that sort of player does sound about right. Sam H says Carrick plays one game, gets man of the match, never plays again. Hypocrisy. There are some weird things going on, but what I would say about that is don't confuse it with not backing Jose Mourinho as your manager. All managers baffle you with selections and player favourites. And even Sir Alex used to do that. You know, you'd be pulling your hair out sometimes at his team selections, but it worked. No, but that's the joy of football. Memphis can shoot, dribble, control, and he's pacey. Memphis in midfield, George. Well, I think all four of them things you've just said are wrong. I've not seen him do any of that. Mark, was Renato Sanchez and Pogba partnership a missed opportunity, says Red in Bed. I don't think it was. I personally don't think we would have signed Pogba if we'd got Renato Sanchez. I don't think we would have gone for both. But if we had, what a midfield that would have been. Although, is Sanchez ready to run a midfield in the Premier League yet? He's a brilliant player and he's going to be one of the best in the world. I just don't know whether he's up to that yet. Is Darmian a good player, Mark? And should he start, said football's best friend. I'm a big fan of Darmian. I think his confidence knocked. But I always said about Darmian is that how long has the Premier League been going? How long has the Premier League been chucking money at foreign imports? And name me an Italian defender who's been imported to this league and has not, hasn't done bad, just done okay. There aren't any. It's a graveyard for Italian defenders, which is interesting about Bonucci maybe coming here. That would be my only concern about signing any Italian defender for Manchester United. Is it just doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because Italian football is very, very different to British football. We're here, we're fast-paced, it's frenetic. The last 20 minutes of a game, they'll just bombard you with all sorts of balls. Whereas the Italian game, I'm surprised Louis van Gaal has never managed there. Did he manage there? Who cares? Did he manage AC Milan? I don't care. Don't bring that name into it, Mark. But yeah, so it's a different sort of game. I think Darmian started off well. I think Louis van Gaal destroyed his confidence. But remember, I thought Paddy McNair was going to be a Manchester United centre-back of the future, and I really think he had the potential to do it. Van Gaal destroyed him, subbing him off after half an hour and playing him at right-back. Confidence gone can make a lot of difference to a player. We don't have team chemistry, says Arjen. Liverpool does. Our players are wandering around the pitch. I don't know. I think we've been far better in the last couple of games. We are much better going forward, and without Jose, no Pogba, no Ibra in that sense alone, it's an improvement, says Jonathan Reed. Very good. Evening, Mark, says Sandeep. Italian football is boring, says Sanchez. It's very slow and tactical. Carrick fan, do you want Wayne Rooney to break Sir Bobby Charlton's goal-scoring record? Well, we'll start taking some questions now. I'll throw that to you. Dunder Beast says clickbait headline as usual. Yeah, because if you'd actually turned up in time, Dunder, you'd have realised the first 5 minutes of this video, we actually did ask the question, are Manchester United better with Mourinho? And we answered it. Carrick fan, well, and all of you lot as well, do you want Wayne Rooney to break Sir Bobby Charlton's record? We're back on Rooney again, but I suppose it's a relevant question. No is the answer. I've always been honest about that because Sir Bobby Charlton is Mr. Manchester United. He embodies what Manchester United is. The Busby Babes were we know what happened with them, but before that, they were this team that excited a nation, bringing the best youth talent from around the world. We've had a youth player on our bench since the late 1930s. Sir Bobby Charlton came through our youth system, won everything with the club, was a World Cup winner. He's an absolute legend. God forbid when he is gone, he will never be forgotten. An absolute legend. So I don't want that to lose our record because I think he represents our club as our all-time goal scorer a hell of a lot better than anybody would, to be fair. He will break it. Wayne Rooney will break it, and I hope somebody else comes along very quickly and breaks it from him. That's all I would say. What formations do you want Jose to try? 3 at the back, says Shaka Phillips. I'm happy with what we're doing. Kellen H. Mark, do you think Ibrahimovic is in form? He wasn't in form on my FIFA career. He was absolute crap. But I don't think he's doing too bad for Manchester United. I don't think we're putting enough crosses in the box. I don't think we're utilising him as well as we should do. But he's doing, I think Zlatan will always get a goal every other game, and I think that's brilliant in the Premier League. Lee Carman, I'd love to see Rashford be our next true legend, not Rooney. Well, Marcus Rashford, if he can stay fit and stay at Manchester United for a decade, he will break that record anyway, and that would be superb because he's a local lad through the youth setup and is exactly what Manchester United should be. And in this modern era of money and mercenaries and agents and everything like that, how great would it be to bring a player through the youth system and keep him here? Whether we can do that, I think it will be an absolute... very difficult to do it because I think those days are sort of gone. Footballers are very different now, but if we can do it, it'd be absolutely brilliant. Ibra has more attempts than any other Premier League striker, says Meldraw01. Hate the Europa League, says Ollie. Mark, would you have Isco? I would, because I think we need an attacking midfielder. We were talking about that. Would Fabregas be a good partner for Pogba, says Red in a Bed? Probably a couple of years ago. I wouldn't want him anywhere near the club now. You know, he is a mercenary. Smash the like button, lads. The United Stand Army says live forever. Yeah, please do hit the like button. That'd be great. Matter number 10, Mickey on the right, says Jake Bull. Yeah, I'm happy to try that at the moment. I just want Mkhitaryan to get in the team, to be honest. Arjun Singh says Rude was far better than Rooney. He was. His goals to game ratio was amazing. It just fell out with Sir Alex. Rooney's breaking it because of longevity and how long he's been here, really. Mark, would you like Payet at United and how much would you spend? Says Anonymous. He's a good player, Payet. There's no doubting that. I think he's 29, coming up for 30. So as a short-term player, yeah, take him. I think we'd have to pay something ridiculous though, and that would probably make me not want it. Shabash says, Mark, where will we end up this season? I would take top 4. Full-time Reds. Mark, would you bring Robin Van Persie back for the season? I'd love Robin Van Persie to come back because I think he's one of my favourite players at United in recent years. An absolute legend for winning us the title single-handedly. What would he offer though? What would he offer? Because we've not got that many games. We've got Zlatan, you've got Rashford. I'd love him to be here. I just don't know whether we'd utilise him enough. Fabregas is good, but I'm not sure about him playing for United, says El Diego. Sonu's talking about Bay in the African Nations Cup. So that means we need a quality centre-back. That's true. Mark, if we get Isco, I don't see how we can get Griezmann next summer, says Knowledge Anthony. Good point. Would you have Vidal, says Shaka Phillips? Well, I think we all would, because I think he's that tenacious midfielder we would want. But then again, he's coming towards the end of his career and he picks up a lot more injuries now. I think we need to be looking younger and long-term. Bruma of Galatasaray is better than Payet, says Red in a Bed. Pogba needs confidence. His official start is crappy, says Jason Braithwaite. But I think that's because Pogba has had a difficult start for a very simple reason. He had a month off when everyone else was doing pre-season training. And I've been saying it for weeks and a lot of you have been agreeing. It takes time to get into it. And I think he will gradually get better and better and we will benefit from that. Mark, who do you think should lead the team, says Storymaker? It's a very good question. We've been talking about this a while lately. I think a couple of weeks ago when Rooney was going to be dropped, we're like, who's the leader in the team? Who's the leader in the team? But I think over the last couple of weeks we've seen there's quite a few potential leaders in that team. I think Herrera could be a captain. I think Daley Blind could be a captain. I think Smalling's done quite well. I think Bay could be a captain. I think De Gea could be a captain. You could give it to Zlatan. You know, there's lots of options. And who's to say in a couple of years' time there won't be a load more? So the reality is, Rooney's no loss as a captain because he's never been a good captain. In fact, I think, in fairness to him, the captaincy hindered him under Van Gaal because Rooney was always best playing on the edge, playing aggressive football. As a captain, you can't do that. So I've always said I think that's a factor, and I'd love to see him without the captaincy. But there we go. Mark and Van Persie would be a good option off the bench. He would, but it's whether he'd want to do it. Next captain, Bragner McNee. I think we sort of touched on that. I think Herrera should be the captain. He loves the club and vocal on the pitch, says J-Dog. I loved it in the Leicester game where he was getting on to Mata to run into the box for that short corner from Blind. He's a very intelligent footballer. And as I said at the start, you know, Herrera, we've been hashtag Herrera in for probably a couple of years that he's been here at United now. And he's always been the one who gets subbed. Even the other day he gets subbed when he was, for me, man of the match. So, if anybody should have been moaning, it should have been him. But he's always been gracious, quiet, and I think he's a fantastic player. And he totally deserves to get called up for Spain. Whether he would be in my ideal Manchester United 11, as much as I love him, probably not. I'd probably have him on the bench as an option to come on because I think he's better going forward. But he's a squad player like that is going to get 30 games a season. I consider Daley Blind a squad player because when Luke Shaw comes back, he should be left back. And if we need a centre-back, then Blind can pop in there. But Blind will probably nearly play every game this season because you're always going to have suspensions and injuries. So, massively important. It's not just about 11 players. I always say this, you know, first team, you should have a first team in your mind, but you'll never get it out because that's football. There'll always be injuries and suspensions, and people like Herrera, Blind and everything like that, you might have them in your first team. For me, they are part of it, but they're a part of the wider first team. Matter for number 10, Mark, says Kellen, at the moment, yes. I think he's doing really well, and I think it's his best position. Arjun, Mark, where do you think Tottenham were better than us against City? I think Tottenham schooled City. I think they pressed them high up the pitch, and they did it with pace. I think we couldn't do that against City because of two reasons. two of the reasons that aren't part of the team anymore. I think our team at the moment that played against Leicester and Stoke would be far more successful against Manchester City because it wouldn't have Rooney in it, slow, and it wouldn't have Fellaini in it, slow. That was the difference for me. Spurs got at City, they pressed them high up the pitch and they didn't let them settle, and you've got to do that. And on that subject, for those of you who can remember all the pre-season shows we had, and Alex was saying, oh, Chelsea will finish definitely in the top 4, I said my dark horse for the title and definitely top 4 is Spurs. There you go. I think Pochettino is a fantastic manager, and I think Koeman is as well. And a year ago, well, probably a bit later than a year ago, it was probably about November time, we were talking about potential replacements for Van Gaal, and I said them too. I like them. I like them both, and they're Premier League proven, and I like the way they play their football. Mark, name me who you think will get top 4, says Retro Rube. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? We were just talking about that. City will get top 4. I think Arsenal will get top 4. Spurs will get top 4, and I'm going to go United are going to get top 4, but that means Liverpool no, Chelsea no. It's going to be very, very competitive, and that's why we need, over these next games, Liverpool and Chelsea. If we get 2 points from it, it's not a disaster. If we can get 4 points, that's brilliant, because we've beat one of them and we've not lost to the other one. So 4 points is what I want from the next 2 games. We'll be very happy with that. 6 points in Dreamland, I can't see us getting that, but 4 points is what would be brilliant. Mark, how are we going to deal with Liverpool high press? Our tactics, says Anup Patel. I think we just got to go into that game very intelligent. We're going to Anfield. It's always going to be their cup final. We've got to be intelligent and approach it in an intelligent way. We don't need to go gung-ho. If we come away with a point, I think we can win at Chelsea. So the main thing about the Liverpool game is not to get beat. And Liverpool would like nothing more than to be all over us like a rash in the first 20 minutes and get 2 or 3-0 up and the game's over. So we might have to play just tight, compact, and hit them on the break. I would do that. Sometimes it's about that. And Jose, when it comes to getting points like that, he's the master. My only concern is I don't know who the referee is yet. Liverpool are getting a hell of a lot of penalties, but we'll have to see. Do you think Bale will join? Says the elite baller. I think it's an irrelevant opinion for me because I just do not know. Sandeep, agree with Mark. Without Rooney and Fellaini, we would have beaten City. I think we would have done. We only just lost to them anyway, and 2 out of our 3 midfielders were static, out of form and slow. Massive problem. Mark, what's your opinion on Klopp? Says Andrew Jackson. I don't really have much of an opinion on him now because he's gone to Liverpool. I accept he's a decent manager, but in relation to Klopp and what he's doing at Liverpool now, he's been there a year. He's been there a year, and all last season they were yo-yo, good result, bad result, good result, bad result, good result, bad result. This season they've got a little bit of consistency, but he's been there a year. That's inevitable. This is the thing about Jose. We want to get top 4 this year, but if we don't, but there's massive improvement, then he'd have to stay. You've got to give him time. I think it's a massive, massive job that Manchester United have got. We've gone from being the most decorated, consistently best club in England for over 2 decades to one that's just struggling to get top 4, and that's the last 3 years. And we should remember that. 6 points against Liverpool and Chelsea, that's what we want, says Sandeep. I think it's unrealistic, but I'd love it. Lozano says typical Habib Gaming. I think I'm going to sign him in January in the transfer window for FIFA. I think he looks like a great player. Jose's only had a few months, says Kellen. And yes, brilliant. Okay, just want to very, very quickly say we've got some exciting things coming up on the United Stand in the next few days. A few videos, one's around transfers and a couple of other things. Sunday Night Live will obviously happen as per usual at 8:30. But we've got the shows for you before that. But for those who didn't watch last night, Football Blogging Awards, we're in the final at Old Trafford on the 17th of November. A lot of you voted on Twitter. If you haven't voted on Twitter, the links are in the video description. You just literally click those links, both of them, and tweet it. We're in the best video vlog and we're in the best club blog. Please vote for us in both. However, a few of you said how many times can you vote? You can also vote through the website, and that's counted as a separate vote. The link to do that is in, you can probably see it actually in the video description now. It's right in the first paragraph. You click on there and you just put your email address in and you click on club and video. It'll give a drop down, select United Stand, send it off. Please do it because it is live on the 17th of November. It's a Thursday night. It's live. It's beamed live on YouTube. Do you want to listen to a Liverpool fan winning the award we're in, or do you want an interesting acceptance speech, which will be me and a couple of the other lads from the United Stand with a few beers, thanking all of you lot and saying how important fan opinion is. So get voting if you want to see that happen. It's going to be very, very hard because we're up against some massive accounts, but the United Stand Army can do it. So do it. That'd be great. Thanks everybody for watching. I shall speak to you all very soon. I'll be live on the FIFA channel tomorrow night with another Manchester United career mode. You can go and watch that if you want to now, if you didn't see it at 5 o'clock. And we will have content up for you over the weekend. And also, we're playing in a tournament on Sunday. It won't be live because, I might be able to do a bit live actually. But Fan TV, there's a five-a-side tournament on Sunday, which we are putting a United Stand team in. So we'll be filming some of that to put up on the channel. So there's loads going up as well. And there's a big announcement for you lot at the weekend, which a lot of you have been asking for. But all I can say is really enjoy doing this. Fantastic opinions. Gets us through the international break. I think we'd all agree with that. And if there's one thing you can do for this channel, that is just get voting, whether it's through the website or through those Twitter links. It will take you a few seconds and it will make a massive amount of difference to this channel and to you. So thanks everybody, really enjoyed that. I know the numbers have dropped massively, people disappear on the international break, so thanks to all of you who've taken the time to watch it. And drop the video a like as well, because your comments have been brilliant. We can't do it without you. Speak to you all soon. Don't forget to vote, please.